My name is Ahadi Katera. I'm from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. So Dar es Salaam is one of the fastest growing cities in Africa. I used to live in the city. I grew up there in the city. But one of the challenges as I grew up was that the city was growing so rapidly and the environment kept on changing. When I went to college, I studied industrial engineering. And I felt I could do something within my community. Now the city produces 2,000 tons of organic waste. With my engineering background, I started to look at that as feedstock or raw materials, stuff that you could actually use to make something, whether it's fertilizer, whether it's biogas or other products. And then we formed up a team with a couple of friends who are now my business partners to start a company where we could actually use the organic waste to produce organic fertilizer. But in 1918, a German scientist called Haber, that's when he developed the first process in the world that can actually make artificial nitrogen. And that has been the foundation of all the fertilizers that we use for food today. But what we have developed is an industrial process that uses biological nitrogen, nitrogen that is not artificial. And then we ferment these sources of nitrogen, we put them into the organic waste, and then we create organic fertilizer. So what we have as our innovation is actually manufacturing formula and a process. So why this process is important, or why this process could actually be of importance? Now look, this is the other side of the story. 75% of Africa's soils are degraded. One of the World Bank reports says that by 2050, 25% of the crop yield would decrease. It's a challenge because we often speak that we need food security. But what if we need soil security first before we start thinking about food security? And that's where our company comes in. We're producing organic fertilizer that is of quality, contains all the nutrients, contains NPK, contains calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and most important, the organic matter. If you return soil fertility to the soil, you could actually improve yield. Some of the latest findings is that the yield could actually improve from 30 to up to 40% for a farmer. And that means the farmer is also increasing the income. Now I come from a country where 30% of the GDP comes from agriculture. About 70 to 80% people employed in the agricultural sector. And I still think this can really drive the economy of the nation. And that's where we want to play in. When we started this business, you could hardly start because setting up an industrial facility costs $2 million, $3 million. But we actually had to start small, We raised capital, we had to work with municipalities, and now we have a small factory that is producing 10 tons on average monthly, and then every product that we make is already going out to the customers because how the product performs well, it's affordable, and at the same time, it's also increasing the yield of the farmers. Look, 95% of the fertilizer used in Tanzania is being imported from Norway or China and other countries. The fertilizer cost before it is being transported is about 200 to 190 US dollars per ton. But when the fertilizer reaches an actual farmer in a rural village in Iringa, the cost is 3 times. We have a competitive advantage to set up a local manufacturing facility because one, we could actually use economies of scale to make the product become affordable and at the same time become reachable to these farmers. We've had challenges in the process. We went to places where we were told, your business won't work. And these are the kind of challenges an entrepreneur comes across when you're starting a business. But look, we had to fight all this and we had to really and how could you deal with that? In the process, we've been able to work with partners, we're working with universities, we're working with other international stakeholders from the Netherlands, some are in the UK, to grow the business. And most important, even the local partners, the Commission of Science and Technology, Tanzania Organic Agriculture Movement. These are the kind of players we've involved and they're really showing interest in our business. It's a diverse team of 4 people, really committed young African entrepreneurs. And look, there's a saying which is contrary in our society that seeing is believing. But in entrepreneurship, it's a bit of opposite. You have to believe first, that's when you see. And that's the motive and the passion and how we grow our business and our company. We started with our own college money because that's when we started the company. I was still in my second year of university when we actually started the company. Most of the financing came from friends or family or some of the college fee that you'd had to use and spend it. In the process, we were able to win one competition, about $7,000 that made us register the company, building up pilots, starting to travel around the country, speaking to farmers who we are targeting, mostly being horticulture farmers growing vegetables and fruits. In the process, again, we're able to raise more capital from various partners and stakeholders who really liked our work and they wanted to excel in different levels. What we are really looking forward over the coming years, we want to scale up in an organic way. We know growing a company takes its challenge and comes with a lot. And we see our growth as a step by step. So I think our next phase now is that we are raising $500,000 to build up a plant that could actually produce 400 tons per year of organic fertilizer that is premium using the process and technology that we have created. And after that, we're looking for the second phase of scale up where we could actually see if we could go to a 50,000 metric tons. Farmers are very interesting. When we started having these friendly conversations, walk with them around, go to their farms, start having these conversations, they are seeing profits in those lands. And not only they care about the farms, they also care about the families that they have. But look, they've been growing with yield that's not increasing. That's one of the challenges. And these inputs are also expensive. How can we make them affordable? And they are locally now available because we already have a local brand. It's Swahili. And what we're creating is a product that's for them. That's what we're trying to tell them. I think the convincing from one-to-one farm has been a bit challenging. We've had to start working with cooperatives. Cooperatives are farm organizations or groups, say farmers that are in 100 who are growing vegetables, who are growing tomatoes, who are growing carrots. It's more easier and the conversation is more likely to be understood because these farmers are already in one place. We were working mostly with about 10 to 15 farmers. These were actually the early adapters, people who would buy your product because they understand the value of soil. But when we had pushed up a bit better with our production capacity, we've seen ourselves now working with about 120 farmers. But in general, we've engaged more than 400 or 500 farmers, I should say. As there's still some of the bottlenecks that we still need to come across, I think we'll be able as well to reach this group of farmers. Some of them has been because they are quite far and we haven't established distribution channels that can reach them. Some of the farmers want to see actual field trials before they could actually buy the product. And actually some of them had already bought some of the fertilizer inputs, so you'd have to wait for the second season for them to purchase. But I think there's a bright future, and that's what we're telling them. We're not giving them promises as they're used to do, but we're actually giving them the results of what the product can do. Turkish professor who's been doing lots of research on biofortification of different nutrients, using that as a fertilizer strategy. We haven't seen an industrial application level where they could actually produce biological nitrogen and include it in the organic waste as feedstock to produce fertilizer. So I think there's one of the next things we should really be looking forward is actually perfecting our technology to the level that we'd actually patent it. So I think it's very critical for us now, and of course will give our company credibility market.